This video is going to show you how to flush route your legs to the router templates. First, you need to go to the tool cage and find a top bearing router bit. You're also going to need a blue roll of double stick tape. And you'll find the wrenches you need in the drawer next to the router. We're going to start by putting some double stick tape on each of our work pieces. Smooth that down really hard so it adheres, and then peel off the blue backing. Now, take your router template and carefully align it with the line that you traced onto the workpiece. Make sure there's some workpiece extending beyond the router template all the way around. We want to make sure that the router is unplugged every time we're going to be installing a bit. Making sure it's unplugged, and then we're going to come over and find the clear plastic wrench for the throat plate. These two little prongs are going to match the holes in that throat plate, and by rotating the throat plate, you can pull it out. This will give you access so you can install the router bit. Now we're going to take our crank. We're going to first put it in the hole that says lock, and we're going to unlock the router. Then we're going to put it in the hole that says up, and we're going to crank it in the direction that says up until the router comes all the way up to the highest that it can be rotated. There may not be a collet. If there's not a collet, ask a tech. They can help you. We're going to put the router bit in the collet, and then we're going to tighten it down until it's finger tight as you can make it by hand. When you can't turn it anymore, get your wrenches. One wrench goes on that bottom nut there, and the other one goes on the top nut. So the bottom wrench goes on the bottom, and then we put one on the top. The wrenches are the same. It doesn't matter which is which. And then we're going to tighten them against each other till it's as tight as you can make it to make sure that that bit isn't going to move. Now we're going to take our crank and go in the opposite direction and crank the router body down. And we want to go down until that bearing that's at the top of the very top of the bit that's our bearing. We want that to run against the router pattern, not against the workpiece. We want the cutting edges against the workpiece and the bearing against the router pattern. Then we're going to take the handle out. We're going to put it back in the lock hole, and we're going to lock that in place so it can't move up or down. We're going to get the clear plastic wrench and our throat plate. We're going and reinstall the throat plate, twist it until it stops turning so it's in there snugly. Then we're going to replace both the crank and the throat plate wrench so that they're not in our way as we're working. Now we can plug in the router. The router bit spins in a counterclockwise way, and we want those blades to engage into the workpiece. So we're always going to approach it with the workpiece closer to us, in between us and the router bit. I'm going to move the workpiece into the router bit, holding it with the handle on the router pattern, and you see how that bearing rides the router pattern and trims the workpiece flush. Now go slowly on the end. Sometimes it can grab on the end. That's okay. Just keep your hands on the handle of the router pattern. Then we're going to go, make sure you do the slot. We're going to do both of these, trimming each one to the appropriate pattern. Then from the tool cage, get a 5-in-1 tool and slide it in between the pattern and the workpiece, and then pry the pattern off. Now you can pull off the double stick tape, and your work pieces are trimmed and ready to go.